How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Episode 13 of the Daybreak Podcast featuring Mama Daybreak. There she is. Yeah, this is going to be a really special episode. We've been talking about doing this for a while. I think it's going to be really awesome. For those of you that don't know, my name is Kyle Daybreak. I'm the founder and president of Daybreak Enterprises. Here in Cleveland, Ohio, we print custom apparel, promotional products. We design and print custom apparel promotional products for businesses and organizations of all sizes. And we also host our podcast here. So we're going to do a quick ad read. And, this episode of the Daybreak Podcast is brought to you by Daybreak Enterprises, headquartered in sunny Cleveland, Ohio. Daybreak is a custom apparel company specializing in screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, and custom tie-dyed apparel. From beer league softball jerseys, event apparel, to large corporate accounts, Daybreak has solutions for everybody. Are you or your organization interested in getting some new apparel made? Head over to daybreakenterprisesoh.com today to browse our portfolio and get inspiration on your next project. Again, that's daybreakenterprisesoh.com to get started on your next custom apparel project. All right, so today we have Trisha Radich. Trisha Radich is my mother. She has been influential in my growth as a human being, obviously, because she's my mom, but also helping me behind the scenes with Daybreak as a bit of an advisor. She has over 30 years of experience in working in the healthcare industry and healthcare administration, carries several high-level certifications, and that includes her master's in business administration. She's very educated on business administration and has a lot of experience working in very high-level positions that's given her a lot of really good insight, and she's been a really good person for me to have in my corner, helping just bounce ideas off of, and we'll talk about a lot of those things. And she's also started working really hard as a watercolor artist the last couple years. She's been busting her butt, working really hard, doing a lot of really awesome stuff with her watercolor painting, and we've been talking about getting some stuff to the market and seeing if we can test market some things, and we'll talk about all that stuff more. But I'm really excited to pick her brain and see kind of what her vision is moving forward with her watercolor painting and stuff like that, because she's doing an amazing job and working her butt off. So yeah, so Mom, why don't we just get started? Go ahead and tell us a bit about your background, like as far as like your upbringing. I mean, I obviously know all these things, but there's probably a lot of things I maybe don't know. So why don't you tell us about, growing up and where it all started for you?
All right. Thanks, Kyle, for having me. My background, I am the middle child of a single mom. Grew up in East Cleveland, Collinwood area on the east side. I have an older sister and a younger brother. I'm part of a big extended family. My mom, your grandma, was the oldest of 9, which means that I have a lot of aunts and uncles that are more like my brothers and sisters. They were a huge influence for me growing up. Like I said, being from a single mom, I had all these older brothers and sisters that were watching out for me, which was awesome. My extended family is the happiest memories I have of being a kid. I went to Catholic school, was a big influence on my upbringing. I was fortunate. I had a really great experience in the Catholic school, learning the Catholic faith. The nuns and the priests were influential for me and gave me a good start in life and my faith and my education. So that's that. Um, the area was diverse. I mean, we had a lot of mixed families, working class families. A lot of the dads in the neighborhood I grew up in, a lot of the dads, from what I remember, a lot of the dads worked at the Ford plant off 152nd. So there's a lot of, I just remember a lot of dads, families, uh, very middle class, working class. The kids, we were outside all the time playing ball in the street. Um, we spent our time playing outside, and we didn't have, I remember specifically in the winter time, there was a hill behind our house. We didn't have sleds. We used uh, boxes that as our sleds, and it was great. It was great. We used boxes going down the hill behind my house in the snow. That's why I like the movie, The Christmas Story, because that basically reminded me of growing up. We were just outside wreaking havoc, playing ball. We played ball in the neighborhood, and it was a lot simpler. TV was channels 3, 5, and 8. And anybody that's my age, will tell you we knew what the lineup was. Tuesday night it was the Happy Days lineup. Thursday night it was the Welcome Back Carter lineup. Saturday night it was um uh uh I can't remember the name of the show. Fantasy Island was one of them. But every night we had the same lineup. So time was it was a lot simpler. It was a very simple way to live.
Yeah, simple times. And I mean, I guess the way I kind of look at East Cleveland now, it's almost like it almost seems like it's maybe gone downhill a little bit more than when you were growing up there. Almost like, I mean, now you think about East Cleveland, you think about like you just never go there under any circumstances unless you.
I mean, I think it's unfortunate because there was a lot of there's a lot of culture there. Back in the day, there was a lot of church presence, and there still is. But times are tough now. Times are tough, for the poor in our city. Times are not easy for kids that are being raised now in the inner city. It's tough.
Yeah, it's really hard because there's that like hard, there's almost like that hard boundary between the middle class. And it's even crazy, like when you look at it, from some of the like the middle class inner ring suburbs like Brook Park, Berea, and then you go out to Westlake or Avon, and there's even more of like a distinction even between some of those like inner ring middle class suburbs out to like Westlake and Avon and stuff. And it is interesting when you look at the way our cities and stuff have kind of developed over time and whatnot. So when you were like growing up and kind of like coming of age, what did you, I kind of have an idea of the answer to this, but like, what did you kind of envision for your future for yourself when you were sort of like a young teenager, or like becoming a teenager?
Well, I'll tell you the truth, Kyle. This is, in all honesty, there was really no envisioning a future was a privilege. Growing up as I got to be more of a teenager, and growing up with a single mom, it was more about survival. That dreaming of your future, that was just not even for me specifically. It was a matter of, survival. you know where are we going to be living? Do we have enough food to eat? Do we have enough, do we have clothes? Our bodies were growing and we didn't have clothes. It wasn't like just run to Kohl's and get new clothes. It wasn't that like that. So to be honest with you, envisioning my future, there was no envisioning my future. It was a matter of survival. When you think about that whole, I'm sure you learned about this in school, the whole Maslow's theory of needs, like if you're not getting your basic needs, or if you're trying to just maintain your basic needs, it's hard to think about the higher level needs.
Yeah.
It's hard to think about, you know, becoming your fullest self. There was none of that. Fortunately, um, surviving, working hard, nose to the grindstone, wanting to have something better, I was able to, through hard work, able to achieve that, a better life.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of work your way out of that. Now,
Yep.
when you met Dad as a teenager and his family was kind of living over in Euclid, did you notice much of a difference between like how his family was living and
Oh,
how?
for sure. For sure. They were, for sure. I mean, first of all, there was, both your grandparents were there. It was, your grandfather, I think, had just retired, or I think he was in retirement by the time when I started dating him. But yeah, for sure. I mean, they were never not rich. They were very much middle class. They were very much middle class, but they had what they needed, and they were very kind and generous people. But they had what they needed. It wasn't a matter. Maybe it was, and we just didn't see that as young adults. Maybe it was a struggle financially, but it seemed like, you know, Grandpa went to the store. It was kind of a joke. Grandpa was always going to the store and buying popsicles for you guys, and there was always fresh bread on the table. There was soda, pop. I mean, your dad grew up drinking pop. We never drank pop because it was just pop was something we had on Friday nights with pizza. Pop was a meal. Pop was sloppy joes and a pop.
Mhm.
That was a meal.
Yeah.
Isn't going to meeting your dad and his family. It was like they had pop all the time. They had snacks all the time. They had, Grandpa always had pastry on the counter. We never had any of that. That was all extra, you know. So I think that was something that kind of I knew that I was in a different uh I don't want to say class, but these people kind of had a better more resources. I'll just say that.
Well,
But
it's really
wonder,
funny.
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because when we were growing up in Westlake, and I would even go over to like one of my friends' houses right around the corner, like, and they would have like it was like it was like they went down the snack aisle at the grocery store and just bought every single thing and put it in their house. And I thought it was like the craziest thing ever when I would go over there and they would have like every single snack in the freaking snack aisle and every single pop that you could imagine. And they just, yeah, it was like, um, yeah, I mean, but again, we had every single thing we needed and maybe a couple extra things that we wanted, but we didn't have the entire snack aisle. Now, Dad, obviously, as we know, is an amazing person. What was it like when you and Dad started first dating? Like, I know you've talked about this with me before, but like, I know a big thing that you've always like harked on when you and Dad started dating was it you guys just had fun together. You guys just did fun things. Like you guys just hung out and had fun. And I think that's how me and Anna kind of are. It's just like no matter what we do, we're just always having fun. Like we could literally get in the car and drive to Dairy Queen to get an ice cream cone, and we're just like having a blast, just like driving to Dairy Queen to get an ice cream cone. So, what was it kind of like when you and Dad started dating? What were some of the things that you guys were doing to like have fun and like? I mean, I know some of the answers to these, but yeah.
Um, Dad and I really, I mean, we dated for I think 3 years before I was going to um Lakeland Community College when Dad and I were dating. It's a junior college on the east side. And I was working pretty much full time in retail at the time. So we didn't have a lot of time together, but when we were together, we we did some crazy stuff. We would go to friends' house and just stay up all night long playing cards. I mean, as dumb as that is, played this game called Back Alley with our friend Gary. And every Thursday night, it was at Gary's and Cindy's playing cards until all hours of the night. Um, we used to go. We just had. I don't even remember to be. We was tobogganing. I remember one time we went, and Dad always had the most trashed cars. Dad's cars were like literally held together with duct tape. I mean, we literally. I'm not kidding you. Held together with duct tape. He had this one car. We were all piled in. Our friends were all piled in this one car. I think it was a Charger. And we were going tobogganing. And Dad had a toboggan tied to the top of the car. The car was packed. I don't even know who was in the car. And there was holes in the floorboards of all this exhaust coming up in the bottom of the car. And something was coming in through the vent system and steaming up the windows. And it was freezing cold outside. And I just remember Dad pulling over, doing whatever he was doing to the car, and just barely made it tobogganing and back. That was just a typical Friday night. That was just a typical Friday night. And just crazy, crazy stuff. I don't know, we just had a lot of fun. It was
Yeah,
always
just
something
living.
stupid. Just living. Yeah, just being a
Just
couple
living.
kids. Yep.
Yeah, just living your life and just being
Yep.
kids and just so how did it cross over to like the point where you were like, okay, yeah, I want to marry this guy, or did you guys just kind of say, okay, let's get married?
Okay, well, this is kind of a funny story, and I'm not sure if you know this or not, but this is actually a pretty funny story. So, like I said, I was going to Lakeland College. I graduated, and my friends were moving out of their house. I was living at home with grandma, obviously. Dad was living at home with grandma and grandpa, and I graduated. I'm like, all right, well, I needed to finish my degree. But I was ready to move out of the house. I was just that time. As a young adult, okay, it's time to move out. So I knew we needed to move out. My friends were starting to move in together as roommates. Aunt Tessie had roommates, and I thought that, I mean, what a cool way to live as a young adult, have your own apartment. And that's what I was going to do. So I went to Dad's house and I said, all right, well, I'm done with school. I said, I'm gonna now consider moving in with somebody. I don't know who. I had a girlfriend, Allison. She had a roommate. I said, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna move out. I'm ready to move out. So that's it. I just made up my mind. And Dad was working on a trucking dock at the time. And I don't know, he didn't even respond to what I was saying. And I don't know, a week later, maybe 2 weeks later, Dad came over and we were going to go to the park. We used to always go up to Metro Parks and go for a walk. And it was in the spring. And I remember it was a warm day. And I remember he had this brown coat on. I'm like, take your coat off. And he's like, I'm okay. I'm all right. And all right, whatever. So we went to the park and we had this tree that Dad had carved our names in this tree. And we went to see the tree. It was at this duck pond we always went to, would hang out there. And it was a Saturday. I think it was a Saturday afternoon. So there was a lot of people at the park and it was really nice out. And Dad proposed to me right there. I was so taken aback. I was like, oh my, what? Oh, okay. And I said, yes. Of course I said yes, because he was a great guy. And later to hear Dad tell this story, in Dad's mind, I was laying an ultimatum. Like, listen, pal, either we're getting married or I'm moving on. That is absolutely not what I was thinking. But anyway, here we are, 38 years later. So I guess we were not on the same page, but we were on the same page. So Dad was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I guess I gotta do something here. But
Well, here you are.
then here we are.
It all worked out.
It all worked out for better or for worse, for rich
Yeah.
or for poor.
Yeah. And like, kids nowadays, they have to like be like me and take things super slow and like be really methodical about all their decisions. And, you guys are like, okay, let's get married, you know,
All
which
right.
is cool, That's awesome. What a great story. Okay, well, here's another envisioning the future question. When you and dad were first got married and kind of settled down together, what kind of vision did you have for your family, or like what did you kind of want for your family if you had anything?
So, as I did get married and start to consider having a family, I was very, as much as I was not mindful when I was growing up about envisioning a future or setting goals, none of that existed when I was growing up. Like I said, it was a matter of survival, as we started, your sister as Kara and you came along, and I did have more of an opportunity. I was determined that I did not want you guys to have to live like that. I wanted
Mm-hmm.
you to have experiences. I wanted you to feel safe. I wanted you guys to live a full life, have experiences and take advantage of to what life has to offer, and did not want um I wanted you to work hard. I didn't want to hand everything over to you guys and, spoil you like crazy. I hope you were a little bit spoiled. That's a privilege of being a parent, but I did not want you guys to live hand to mouth like I did. Kind of like, well, I mean, Dad's life he had a pretty middle class life. I just did not want you guys to worry as kids, um, of the worries that poverty brings. I didn't want you guys to have to deal with that. And I mean, things were not easy. You guys didn't, you weren't, you know, things were not that easy for you guys, but I think we did a pretty good job giving you a well-rounded, a lot of experiences, travels, yeah.
Yeah, I think that all makes a lot of sense. I think it's kind of something you hear all the time with parents is they want their kids to have a better life than they had. I want my kids to have the same good life that I had with maybe a little bit of extra better things. Like if my kids want to go to summer camp, I'd love to be able to like send them to like Christian summer camp or something, and I don't know. I basically want my kids to have the same great life that I had, and if I'm able to give them a little bit more, then I think that's a good thing. One thing I know, like my kids will have, and and this too, is like my kids will have grandparents that are around for a while, and like ideally,
God
and
willing.
be a very like big part of their life, and that's something that I think maybe me and Kara didn't quite have to the same to the degree that you guys would have wanted for us. And I think we'll be I that's something that I'm excited about, is that like my kids will have they're gonna have a lot of love from their grandparents on both sides and Aunt Vita. So they're gonna have it all. They're just gonna have so much love and family and great stuff. And not that we didn't have those things, but my grandparents weren't around very much and for too long, and they had their own issues. And now this is kind of a question that's kind of interesting. Like when you guys, excuse me, when we moved over to Westlake from the middle class environment of Euclid and East Cleveland, and we moved over to a little bit of a more wealthy area over here in Westlake, did you struggle with that at all? And I have some insight on this. I'm just like curious kind of how you guys felt moving over here.
Well, not only was it geographically, I mean, at the time, it was very unheard of, very unusual for people to move from the east side to the west side. So that in and of itself was a challenge. And all, like I said, like we talked about, all of our family was on the east side. You mentioned that you didn't see them that much. Well, when I was working, you got to give credit to your dad. He made every attempt to spend all your free time that he was able to take you guys back to the east side and spend time with your grandparents and your Aunt Cheryl and all your cousins. And most of our holidays were spent with either side of the family, and Kim and all her kids. So we did the best we could, but it was just one of those things. It's just something. The move felt right for us. The move, like I said, I wanted a better life for you guys, and I didn't have any empirical proof, but I just felt like moving to the west side was going to open up more opportunity for us as a family, and it did. Um, and
Can
this
you
was well, say that again.
can,
What's
can
that?
you can you go into detail about that a little bit more?
About what opening up
Yeah.
experiences for you guys? Um, um, so I'll tell you a story. So we moved here. We moved to the west side. Dad was traveling a lot for work, so I was pretty much left alone with you guys, with no family, no support system. And when we were on the east side, it was constant. Aunt Tessie's, Aunt Kim's, Aunt Peggy. We were constantly going to each other's houses and spending time with extended family. That's just how I grew up, and that's how I basically lived when we were on the east side. And I came here and there was nobody around. I had nobody. I had nobody. And I remember, so what do you do? And since the beginning of, civilization, when people are going into a new area to live, their religious community is, what many times brings people together. And I remember just lamenting on, how scary it was. I was this young person, young mom, and how scary it was being here with nobody around. And we belonged to a church on the east side. It was called St. Paul's, and our pastor was Father Weber was his name. And he baptized both you guys, and came to the west side and, found our church community, St. Bernadette, go to Mass. The first Mass we go to, and there's Father Weber standing there. I'm like, okay, all right. To me, that was truly a message that this is where we were meant to be. Like, God knew I needed some kind of grounding, and he, brought this person with us from the east side to the west side, and, helped us to settle into a new home on the west side. The school systems here were fantastic. A lot of business owners, a lot of folks that lived here were entrepreneurs, were building, had their own family businesses. Well, that's not anything that we were exposed to, on me at least. I mean, maybe dad was, but I wasn't exposed to that. Um, and professionals, we came from middle class people. When I was going to school, it was, you either were on this, we were either in the college track, you were in the trades, or, homemaking. That was our track. Whereas a lot of people that we went to grade school with were in the trades. And that's basically, people that were in our purview, in our environment. But here on the west side, there was professionals here. The best friends I've made or were professional, people in the professions and business owners. And that was experiences that you guys were introduced to, you know.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, did you struggle at all
My
with like
friend,
prejudice, or like people that were
um,
kind, I mean, let's call it what it is, people that were yuppie, and us coming over here as like middle class people? Was there any kind of like crappy attitudes towards us, or
I didn't feel that. If people felt that way towards us, I didn't pick up on that. The friends that I was fortunate enough to, the other moms that I was fortunate to make friends with are still the friends that I have today that I love dearly and were always very, very kind and very welcoming to us, very extremely welcoming, and to you guys. I mean, they loved you guys. They took us in, befriended us and treated us very well. And I'm still friends with them today. The friends I made when we first moved in are still, you guys are acquaintances with the kids, but Dad and I are still friends with the adults, with these families. If other people felt a certain way about us, I feel that was their problem and not mine.
Yeah, it's their problem. Yeah, not to
Yeah.
I mean, also too, it's not like there wasn't plenty of middle class people in Westlake that we were friends with. I mean,
Sure.
we don't have to go down like the names of families and stuff, but there was plenty of middle class people around in Westlake that we were friends with. I guess I struggled. Maybe it was in my head, but like when I was first playing like the travel baseball, and some of my coaches, I kind of struggled with it a little bit, and I equated it to us not being wealthy and driving really nice cars, and and being business owners or lawyers. And so if I was treated poorly or if I was being yelled at or whatever, in my head it immediately went to, we don't make as much money as them. And I don't know why my brain did that, but it's just what it did. And but past that, I didn't really feel like we were looked at or treated like that much differently. And coming from more of like a middle class background, and like I said, we were surrounded by plenty of families that were a little bit more middle class, and it's not like the entire city of Westlake is rich families.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I feel like you just have to, God put us in this situation, and we made the best of it, and had some great support of families that took us in, quote unquote, took us in.
yeah, for sure. So let's shift a little bit to like your career. You when we first moved to Westlake, and like how did your career change and develop over like the entire time that we were growing up? Because I know there was like, you were basically like building and developing your career and education the entire time we were growing up. And where are you kind of at now, kind of towards the end of your career?
So education and learning have always been like a core identity of mine. Like I am constantly, even, in all the work that in any job I've ever had, I'm always looking to learn the ins and outs. And I've been very fortunate to have leadership that has recognized in me and has allowed me to develop in areas that I want to develop in. So I've been very fortunate. Healthcare is just an area that is just ripe with opportunity. I mean, you can do anything if you're in the healthcare field, you can really go in a ton of different directions. And I've been very fortunate that I've been able to kind of like maneuver through the business aspect of healthcare. I've had a great career. I've had really fantastic people that I've reported to. I've had some very difficult people that that have been in leadership positions, but everything is opportunity. Everything is, you learn about yourself and you learn about the world when you're in good situations, and even more so when you're in bad situations. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm in a really good position now. I have wonderful people that I work with, and I just consider myself extremely lucky.
Yeah, for sure. I remember like growing up and everything, like you were always in school working really hard
I was
to for
always in school.
you were always in school, and you were working your butt off to finish your education, and that culminated in you eventually getting your MBA. What?
That really wasn't a plan. I was really burnt out by the time I finished because on top of getting my undergrad, finally finishing my undergrad, um, I kind of took a break while you guys were growing up and dad was traveling a lot and we were working on the house. I kind of took a break, but I knew I wanted to go back to school. Finally finished my undergrad, and then my boss offered me a promotion, and she said, I want to give you this promotion. We need this work done. And I'm reading, and she put the job description that she was proposing in front of me, and it said, required qualifications was master's. And I says, well, I can't do this. I don't have a master's. She goes, oh, you will. She goes, and so that was it. I had to finish. I didn't really have a choice. I was given this promotion and I had to finish my master's degree. But on top of getting my master's degree, I was also getting these certifications that I needed to do my job in the healthcare compliance arena. So, but it's all good because learning is just always something that I don't know how people, well, I shouldn't say that. For me, learning is just a core identity of who I am, whether it's, learning for my career or learning about something, something stupid, unrelated to my career. Just like I just have this natural curiosity. I want to just dig in and learn all about something that I'm curious about.
Yeah, I can relate to that a lot, as I'm sure you know. I
Yeah.
get very in the weeds and need to learn everything. What do you think the biggest thing? What do you think is the biggest thing you took away from getting your MBA, as far as like the education component of it?
Um,
Anything in particular stand out?
I think the thing that I learned that I really, really love when I got my work through my getting my master's is strategy. I am just fascinated by developing strategy, and then there's this whole framework around how you develop strategy to take a business forward. But then you have to implement it and you have to do what
Yes.
work your plan your work your plan. I think that was my biggest takeaway about, wow, okay, so this is how it's done. Like this whole framework. I love a framework. I love an outline. I love a framework.
Yeah, because it gives you
Um,
something to work off of.
exactly. Instead of just like throwing spaghetti at the wall and just seeing what sticks. I
Yeah,
love
can
a
I?
framework
Yeah,
and
can I
goal
make a?
setting.
Yeah, can I
Yeah,
make a comment on that?
please.
Yeah, so that's something that we've talked about a ton. The last, Daybreak started in 2022, and you talked about throwing spaghetti at the wall. Man, I was throwing spaghetti at the walls, at the floor, at the ceiling. I was throwing spaghetti to the kids in the neighborhood. I was throwing spaghetti everywhere. I had no idea what I was doing, and that's fine. That is totally fine. I was trying to start a business and I was doing my thing, and I started a business. I did it. I got started, and that's half the battle, right? And
Yep.
now, here I am in 2022, and I finally feel like I've really like developed a sales strategy that's working, developed a marketing strategy that's hopefully going to work. And like now I really feel like I've gotten some things dialed in as far as like an actual strategy and building systems, building an outbound sales system that is workable and repeatable. And I think that is a huge thing that I would tell any like new entrepreneurs. Like, I'm less than 5 years in, so I'm still really new too, but I would tell them like from the beginning, try to develop some kind of concrete strategy, marketing strategy, sales strategy, and get those plans in place. And if they're not working, then you rip them up and you write a new strategy. But
Right.
yeah, the throwing spaghetti everywhere, trying to see what sticks, that's a tough place to work from. That's a
That's a recipe
really,
for, yeah,
yeah,
that's a recipe for chasing your tail.
spinning your
And
tires and
right.
yeah.
I mean, you might get some traction, but you save yourself a lot of energy. You're just one person, you're just one person. And it's not just for entrepreneurship. I think anybody in the business world, you need to have um a strategy, you need to have goals, like what do we want to accomplish here? And I know there's a lot of people laugh about, the term, people laugh about, the business lingo of business, and it is laughable sometimes, but there's a lot to be said for why are we here then if we're not trying to accomplish something and be effective in what we're trying to accomplish.
Or it's like, why are we working so hard without any kind of concrete plan or any kind of measurable goals? Like,
Right.
what's the point of working our ass off if we're just like flailing? If we're one of those inflatable balloon man that's like their arms are
Exactly.
just like
I
flailing
love
around.
those. They kind of freak me out, but I actually love
Yeah, but
those.
they're really great to use as references because they're just hilarious. Because I just like look at one of those things and I feel like that's just my life sometimes. Um, yeah, you've worked with a lot. You've done a fair amount of managing and whatnot. What advice would you have around like effective managing and building strong teams that are like, get back to that phrase we're using, like building teams that are effective at actually like finishing things and working on projects together. Do you have any kind of insight on
Managing
that?
managing teams is, in my mind, people could disagree, but I have felt like managing teams is one of the toughest things to do. Um, and I probably don't do it well just because I'm very high strung and I feel everybody should come on, people are not the same. And I think that's leads into thinking when considering building a team, you I think it's important. Let me just say it like this. So you're trying to develop a new um you're trying to build a new machine, whatever. You can't have you could have five engineers in the room, but the minds are pretty much probably all the same.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have people to build an effective team. You want your team to be effective. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's the point.
That's the point. So your team, you might want to consider having a team that is multi-talented. This person's really good about, a creative aspect of it. This person's really good at, communicating and talking to, vendors, whatever, and keeps is calm and collected. This person, is really good at the nuts and bolts of things. I think that's building an effective team. You want to consider having not just people who think like you want to actually have people that don't think like you. And you need to be open to and encourage people to bring things, to be comfortable speaking up, bringing things to the table. And hopefully if you're all on the same page of accomplishing the same things.
Yeah, totally. I think that makes sense, having some diversified talent.
Yep.
Um all right, let's shift again to your watercolor painting and everything. How did when did you start kind of thinking about working hard on the watercolor? Because it's like it's not something like it's like you've really committed the time to it instead of just like trying it a little bit and having it kind of over there in the corner. Like you've done it the right way where you've really committed to working on your craft. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Well, so I got into watercolor. It's kind of like watercolor found me. I was looking for something to do besides, I was just looking for something else to do from a creative aspect. I getting to that age of my life where, I've pretty much, I've nailed down the career thing, and as far as my strength training goes, the physical aspect, I don't have that dialed in while I'm trying to fix this bad shoulder, but I do have a plan for that to get my physical self in order and shape. And just this whole creative aspect, I just felt like there was this whole world out there world experience that I was not tapping into. And to be I had, spiritually, I feel like I've really devoted a lot of time and effort into exploring my faith. But this whole idea of creativity was something, like I said before, something that I want to learn about and understand. I'm fascinated about creativity. So I was flipping through, I don't know, a book that came in the mail. There was a watercoloring class down the street. I took the class, met some really nice ladies. We laughed a lot and it was fun. The class, I didn't really learn much. Our teacher was kind of annoyed with us because we were talking so much, but I was like, I can get into this. So you know how it goes. You go on the social media and you start looking at things and the algorithm just starts, you know, feeding you all this stuff. And all of a sudden, my social media told me that I was a watercolor artist. I was creative. So I bought into, the influencers out there and just went down the rabbit hole. What I've discovered and what other artists have told me, are you sure that's where you want to start? Because watercolor is really tricky. I'm like, yeah, okay. Probably not. Wasn't the best introduction to exploring my creativity, but here I am with all of my boatload of supplies here. And it's fun. I get involved in a picture and I fall into a flow, flow. And I forget about everything else. And before I know it, it's like an hour later, like, oh my gosh, I've been at this, for an hour. I need to wrap this up. And you come away with something concrete. It's pretty amazing, and some of my stuff is pretty laughable. I can laugh at myself and we've had some good laughs. Remember Dad's walleye fish I made?
Yeah. Yeah. That's all right. Now you've done some really the painting you did for me, fishing for peace. I've never been more blown away. I was just so blown away when you gave that to me. I couldn't believe it.
I was pretty excited about that piece. That really came out really nice. I was really happy. It was just like,
and the title,
tile on a piece of paper. That was it.
The title too is just so perfect because it's exactly what I was doing for a long time, and it's what I still do. Just fishing for peace. It's just perfect.
Yep.
And we can totally turn that even into a series of shirts too in the future, based off that kind of title.
For sure.
Yeah, so I've kind of encouraged you to think about bringing some of your art to market and trying to monetize it. And we've talked about, the biggest thing we've talked about is bookmarks. I think that's a really great place to start. And we've also talked about the idea of usable art, and t-shirts are kind of a perfect example of that, because you print your art on a t-shirt and then you get to wear this awesome t-shirt that's comfortable and protects your skin. And I've always been really into the idea of artwork that's, dog is scratching at the door. I've always been really into the idea of usable art. I don't know what he's doing out there. Sorry, that was really distracting. Because, you see it all the time. You go to art shows or whatever, and you have artists that, they have all their prints and whatnot, and they'll have some stuff that's framed, and they'll have a ton of stuff that's not even framed. And it's come on, we need to, A lot of people don't even hang artwork in their house. To me, that's like shocking. Like when I see that, because my house is full of artwork, but like, you know, I think a lot of it is like, a lot of artists just don't even care about trying to like make a little bit of money. That's just like the last thing that they're concerned about for whatever reason. So we've talked about bookmarks. Tell us a little bit about that, and like, if you've kind of had any ideas around that.
Well, yeah, my problem is that I'm not, I have not developed yet a real, what do you say? My own artist identity. A lot of the stuff that I do or create is really, from what I've seen, like a tutorial, or I've seen these bookmarks online and I'm like, oh, I could make those. So that's my goal now is like, I want to start really finding my own voice artistically. Like, what color schemes are mine? You know what I mean? Like you can look at a Van Gogh and that's a Van Gogh. That's what I'm trying to say. You can there was an artist on a book cover, a piece of art on a book cover, and I looked up the artist, and like this picture was amazing. It was like, I got to see who this artist is. And all of her artwork looks the same. So that's what I want to explore, is like my identity, finding my own voice. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of an obstacle, and I want to kind of work on that, and that way I could feel more comfortable putting my own pieces out in the world. And
I hear
think
you.
people,
Yeah.
I like for birthday cards, I love making people, like I think about what is meaningful to this person, and can I put that on this card? And it's more than just, I tell you and your sister all the time, do not dare buy me a $5 card. I'd rather have you fold a napkin in half and write "Happy Birthday, Mom" on that. I would rather make somebody something, if I can, that reminds me of them, or I think would put a smile on their face. And it does. People are like, wow, this is really cool. So,
Right. So I wanted to say something on that point about, I don't think you really, I understand what you're saying about worrying about having a signature style, but I also think there's something to just getting started and getting stuff out there. To be fair, a lot of people can see like Daybreak stuff, a lot of the crazy tie-dye stuff, and they know that's Daybreak stuff. So I understand that idea, but I think there's also something to just getting started and getting stuff out there. And
I hear you.
And as you go, you'll sort of develop more of like trust me, you already have a style. Like you already have a style, and if you started really like making a bunch of stuff, you'd start to see patterns.
Yep.
Like patterns would emerge and whatnot, and you'll start to realize that, oh, okay, this makes more sense. So that's my suggestion. My suggestion is just to get started. Just, pick, let's say if we're doing bookmarks, you pick 3 themes,
Uh-huh.
One is we'll do one as an Ohio nature theme. So like nature specific to Ohio, plants. We'll even get more specific. So Ohio native plants. And then you can do like a series that's like Ohio native birds. And then you could do an Old Testament series where you have stuff related to the Old Testament. And you can even break that down even more and just do specific books of the Bible. And I would say that's my advice, is just to get started and just get stuff out there and see what people like. And I just think the idea, because bookmarks are practical and they're usable, they're something that you can take home and use that night when you finish reading a chapter in your book, so that's my suggestion. But I think you've already made a really good start, and those patterns and that style, quote unquote, it'll come through. and you'll start to notice that. You'll start to see it, and you'll start to see like, you'll start to notice those patterns. I wouldn't trip too much though about, having a super signature look or super signature style right away, because mom, that changes too, right? Like as an artist and as a creative person and as an artist, like that style changes over time. And I've even noticed it with like, when I'm writing guitar music, I'm always kind of writing like my style has been my style since the beginning, like the way I write riffs, and it just, you just kind of have it. So yeah, that's what I would say is I would say just get started, and then you'll dial in your style more over time.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. So besides like bookmarks, has there been like anything else that you've thought about using to help get your artwork out there? Any other like modalities or anything?
Well, I'll tell you, this isn't really, it's kind of artwork. I'm always really interested and fascinated in upcycling. I just
Mm,
feel like I love to look at
that's
something that's
huge.
been upcycled.
It's
Yeah.
huge right now. That's a huge
So,
selling point.
so I don't know if you could see like back in, there are some, I've seen some of these, some people make these, they're kind of hard to make. I've made a couple of them. But it's the whole idea of you take an old, and I love books. I love a good book. So you take an old book. Their covers, if you've ever looked at a book, a hard covered book, the covers are beautiful.
Yeah, they always
Beautiful.
are.
Sometimes there's a beautiful piece of art on top of the cover that you don't even see because it's covered up with the paper jacket. Um, so there's a way you can rip out the inside, the guts of the book, and you replace it with art paper. And it's an art journal, becomes an art journal. And they're
Yeah,
very
we've talked about
expensive.
this.
Have we talked? Did I show these? Did I talk to you
Yeah,
about them?
we've talked about it, but for the audience, you can
Oh,
talk about it more.
but I want I need some time to make some more. I did make a couple, but I tried working on one but my shoulder just is not in a position because you need to like, it's really hard. It's kind of hard, not hard work, but you need to have strong arms to be able to like work through the needle through all the signatures. But they're beautiful. They're absolutely gorgeous. And what an amazing thing to get as a gift or to give as a gift is this upcycled, art journal. I think so. I want to explore that. I want to figure out how to I need to make some time to work on those because they're beautiful.
Yeah,
I
I think
think they
that's a
are.
great idea.
And everybody
So,
loves an upcycle. People just love upcycled stuff,
oh yeah, totally.
And they get these books out of the, bring them, um,
A lot, a
there's a
lot of
trash
people
heap.
love the upcycled stuff, but then the people who don't know what it is or understand it, they're kind of like. So you have to make sure it's getting in front of the right people. Um,
I don't know if I mentioned this to you. I think I did, but what if you did it like just an upcycling vendor event? Like all the tables are just like
Everything is
upcycled.
upcycled. That's
Yeah.
a
Wouldn't
great
that be
idea.
cool?
Yeah, that would be a great thing. So kind of moving forward a little bit, kind of a big picture question. What is like something you wish someone would have told you when they were my age?
Um, when I was your age, I wish somebody would have told me what. I think we kind of touched on it a little bit, and I think it took me a while, like I said, when I was working on my more advanced degree to really think about goal setting. I wish somebody would have told me, talked to me more about doing that, envision your life, setting goal setting, and doing, I don't know, I kind of rebel against what's your 3, 5, 10 year plan. I don't really like that, but I like the thought of let's just accomplish these three things this year. What do you want to
Yeah.
accomplish this year? just three things, whether it's, whatever it is. I kind of feel like my career has been I've drifted into the career that I am. I've been very fortunate, but it just kind of found me. I didn't really seek out my work. And I feel like I wish somebody would have told me that. Do find a career or do a job that really uh, lights you up. I think if I could say that, find a job that kind of lights you up. I feel like I'm good at my job, but it's a job. It's interesting, but it doesn't really light me up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's like really good insight. So looking back on everything, your family, your career, your faith, your artwork, what are you what's something you think you're most proud of?
Most proud of. Well, I mean, of course, I'm very proud of you and your sister, you and Kara. I'm so proud of you guys. You guys have both lived as young as you are, very interesting lives. You guys have found impactful careers. I don't want to say they're rewarding, but your careers have been very
They're rewarding,
impactful. Okay, all right.
both of them.
I'm glad to hear that, but I know they're impactful. I know that at the end of your workday, sometimes you feel pretty beaten up, but I know that you're making an impact. Um, Very proud of, while the rest of us were, sitting behind our computers in our homes during COVID, you and your sister were, front line, man. So as much as that was nerve-wracking for us as your parents, I was very proud of you guys. Proud of, how fearless you guys are. You guys are just fearless and just do whatever you want to do. You just get out there and do it and lead very interesting lives. So I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of, pushing through in my career. It was hard, like I said, trying to go to school while you guys were so young, but I am proud of that. Your dad and I, you know, saved two old houses. We completely remodeled and brought back to life two old pieces of property and made them very nice pieces of property and helped um, that has been very rewarding, extremely hard work. Um, yeah, and I'm proud of your dad. He's a great guy. He's a lifelong, he's very supportive of me. Anything I wanted to do, all right, go ahead. Um, yeah. So I've had a good life.
What
I
does it
have a
feel
good life.
like?
I have a good life.
What does it feel like for you and Dad? Like when somebody asks you guys what your kids do, and you tell them that we're both nurses. Like, what is that? That's got to feel kind of like a flex to say, like, yeah, both our kids are nurses, or like both our kids are doctors. Like, does that feel kind of cool to tell people that, or?
Yeah, it kind of feels cool. I don't know if people really realize, I don't know if the average person realizes what a tough job being a nurse is.
No, no one, but no one can understand. No one
Yeah, no
can
one can
understand.
understand that. I kind of say, yeah, they're both nurses, eek, because I know how hard it is. We need to throw some money at the nurses, throw more money at the nurses. People don't realize how hard they have it. Yeah, I mean, and this was nothing. I did not, your dad and I did not say, you guys need to be nurses.
No.
Neither, I remember the day you told me, I think I'm going to go to nursing school. I'm like, all right, so go to nursing school. Kara knew since she was in high school, a junior in high school, that she was going to be a nurse. She said that from the very beginning. I'm going to
To
be a
be
nurse.
honest, well, to be honest with you, and you might not, I don't think anyone really knows this, and that seed was planted for me in high school. It was kind of always there in the back of my mind, and dealing with the health issues I had to deal with. And when I saw the male nurses, I saw them and I was like, oh, I can totally do that. Like, that looks like me. They always were kind of like laid back. Like, they're always kind of like laid back, and they wore scrubs. They didn't have to like wear
Yeah.
a suit to work. That always was extremely appealing to me. And for also, I don't know, like some people are like completely repulsed by hospitals. Like they're terrified of hospitals. They never want to step foot in a hospital. But I've always been like super comfortable in hospitals. And I've always thought, so to be honest with you, that seed was planted for me and it was always kind of there in the back of my head, but I was afraid of doing the work. I knew how hard it was going to be. And I
Yeah.
was very averse from doing the hard work. And then I finally, when I made the decision, I was like, all right, dude, like you're going to have, and it changed who I am as a person. When I went to school and got through school, it completely changed who I am as a person because it taught me how to work extremely hard and accomplish things. And no, I've always just thought that that would be like have to feel really cool to like tell people like both our kids are nurses. And that,
Oh, for sure.
because whenever I tell people, they're always kind of like, it's always kind of one of these things. It's always like, whoa, that's crazy. Like that's a like good for you. Like that's really impressive. So people are always like really impressed when I tell them. So I've always thought like you and Dad got to feel like a little bit of extra proud to
Oh,
tell
for sure.
people like both our kids are nurses. Both our kids are literally doing God's work. You know what I mean? Like it's gotta. I've always thought that you and Dad have probably felt really proud to tell people that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm also proud of the fact that you found a way to balance out the difficulties you see on a day-to-day basis with this business. I think this business Daybreak gives you a good outlet, gives you that creative side, gives
Thousand
you that
percent.
lets your brain go in a different direction. And that's, we talk about my watercolor. I feel like that's why I've kind of like dabbled down this creative route for the same reason. It's like, work is, working and taking care of house and, whatever and doing my strength training. I needed to get off this bandwagon and this open creativity has really helped. And I feel like that's why I'm proud of you starting this business because it has given you the ability to kind of like put all this nonsense that you have to deal with on a daily basis on the shelf for a couple hours and work on this for yourself too. And like you said, it taught you going through nursing school and dealing with very difficult clinical situations has served you well because now, oh, I can start a business. Hey, I brought back Grandpa Grandpa was dying and I helped bring him back. I had his heart in my hand. I
Yeah,
can start a
literally.
t-shirt business, an apparel business. I can start an
Yeah,
apparel business.
how hard could it be? Yeah. No, I think
I hope that makes sense what I'm saying.
oh, it all makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Do
So
the
let's
hard
move.
thing, man. People just got to do the hard thing, whatever it is, because you never know where it's going to take you.
Yeah, well, that's a great quote, and that's going to get clipped for sure. So let's move on to the questions about me. Do you have any questions that you put together for me?
So Kyle, what are you looking forward to in the next year? What are you looking forward to professionally or personally? What's getting you jazzed up? What are you looking forward to?
I'd say, yeah. So like with Daybreak, the biggest thing I'm looking for, well, I mean, there's a number of things. I'd say like a big thing I'm looking forward to is getting our online stores optimized, and what that means is the online stores need some work to get all the designs uploaded and photographed and everything. And so that's kind of my big project right now that I'm trying to get done before the spring and the summer and the fall before things get really busy again. So that'll be really nice once I have, especially like the Etsy store fully optimized. Then I'm going to start advertising on it, like paying for Etsy advertising, and I think that's really going to take our shop to the next level. So I'm really excited to finish that project. And yeah, and then I think another thing I'm just really excited about is bringing on Melissa to help us with our shows. She is somebody that I've basically hand chosen, and she's gonna be amazing. She's just an amazing person to work with. I've worked with her in the hospital, and she's a workhorse. She never stops like working. She works all week long at the hospital and then goes and cleans hotels on the weekends. And
Oh, wow.
I couldn't really think of anybody that's more perfect for the role. She's going to have our booth looking incredible. She's going to be talking and selling shirts like crazy, and it's going to really help me at
Can
shows.
I just say something? Can I say something here?
Yeah.
So you just said something, Kyle, that again, you asked, well, what am I proud of? So you and I have talked about your booth setup and whatnot, and Sandy has also talked to you about it. This just goes to show you how open you are to feedback. You've identified that was a weak spot, and now you're bringing somebody on to help you with your booth setup. So good job. Kudos. You're very open to feedback, and you got right on it. You're fixing it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I needed to bring somebody on to help me at the shows. I needed to bring someone on to train so that eventually Melissa will be there by herself, and I can go help set up and get started, and then I can go live my life the rest of the day and then come back later on and check on her or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's less about that right now, and it's more so about having somebody there to help make the booth look really nice, keep everything folded and looking really nice. I mean, she's going to be really perfect at that. And then just somebody to help in general with sales so that I can focus more on so that I can be there helping with sales, but also being more involved in like the actual networking and marketing and picking people's brains and seeing if they're a good potential client for the custom shop. I just don't have that ability to really do that if I'm there by myself. I did all these shows this last year by myself just to gauge
effort and time that it would take.
Sandy thought I was nuts, and I honestly was nuts for doing them by myself. But I also needed to gauge how busy they actually are, and then I needed to know, okay, which ones.
Well, I mean, you need to be in you walk the walk. They talk about in business, you need to walk through and see what's actually going on. You can't just be in the background and sending people out. You need to understand what she would be dealing with. And
I've always planned on being that kind of. I'll always be that CEO. I'll always be the CEO that's like on press printing t-shirts if I need to, or making cold calls, or driving an order across town to get it delivered on time. I'm always going to be that CEO, always, until I can't do it anymore, until I'm old and gray and my body's falling apart. I'm always going to be the CEO that's willing to get in the weeds and do the work. And me and Anna talk about this all the time. Well, we would never expect each other to do something that we're not willing to do ourselves. Never. Like, I would never tell her to do something that I would not be willing to do myself. That's something we talk about all the time. But no, I needed to do the shows alone this last year because I needed to see where we were at as far as like, okay, which shows am I even like really going to need Melissa at, like, and then which shows are borderline, and then which shows can I just do by myself. And yeah, Sandy's never done shows alone. Never. She's always had somebody with her. Now, granted, Sandy's a woman, and that Sandy has always felt a little more vulnerable being a woman and being by herself, and that's totally understandable. That she would feel that way because she has been robbed. She was robbed like a couple of times,
Oh my
and
gosh.
so she did have to deal with some major. That's why she told me I'm never allowed to sell downtown anymore because she got robbed twice downtown. So I'm never. She's like, you're never selling downtown. You can just forget it. Like you're not doing that. And but no, yeah, I just needed to do these shows alone just to see exactly where I needed help, and now I know. Now I know like where I'm gonna need Melissa for sure, and she's gonna kill it. She's gonna absolutely kill it, and I can't wait to for you guys to meet her. And
Good.
yeah,
What
so
are you
that's
looking what are you looking forward to personally?
well, I have some plans with my
Oh,
girlfriend.
is it are they um
I have some big plans with my girlfriend.
big plans? Okay. All right. Is
So
it ready for prime time news yet?
not yet,
Okay.
but I have some big plans with my girlfriend that I'm looking forward to. That's all I can say about that.
Oh,
I
and
have
she's amazing.
my personal life. We're gonna start potentially looking at our living situation and looking into buying a house if it makes sense for us. So I'm looking forward to that process, and then just taking a real vacation in August and chilling really hard. I also have a week off in March that I'm really looking forward to.
Oh, good. Around my
So
birthday, maybe you'll take me out to dinner for my birthday.
yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
So that's what I'm looking forward to personally.
Great. All right.
I get vacation time and I'm just like too tired to even do anything. I
Well,
just
that's okay. That's what vacation time is for. It's not like I think it's not like you're wasting your time or anything, you know?
yeah. So
All right. So I have another question.
yeah.
If you had access to a billboard on 480, what sign would you put on the billboard? What would your billboard say?
It's a really good question. And I've thought about it actually.
You
And
have?
I really don't have a great answer. To be honest with you, I feel like it would be something crazy, like almost like something like shocking to like just stir up attention. Um, God, I don't even know. I mean Mom, I'm serious. I couldn't
I
even tell.
am
I couldn't even
shocked
tell
that
you.
Kyle Raditz is speechless.
Yeah, I mean it's hard because we could just do like the I would want it to be something like kind of mysterious that like really makes people say like WTF
I feel
and
like
real.
wasn't there something like that a couple years ago and everybody was talking about it. Nobody knew what the heck it was about, and then we figured it out. I feel like there was something like that. Some marketing.
That's what I would want it to be, like something real weird and mysterious that stirs up a bunch of hype and attention, and then all that hype and attention figures out a way to end up back on our Instagram page. That's what
Mm,
I would want. That's the only way I can answer that. What that would be, I don't know.
you don't know.
Right now, it would not just be like, we print custom T-shirts, call us. Like, no, it would be like no bullshit like that. It would be something super weird and mysterious that stirs up a bunch of, almost like opens up a Reddit forum where people on Reddit are like trying so hard to figure out what it is. Like, that's what Tom York did when he released his album Anima. he started like putting these insane mysterious signs on the subway in London about about a service that captures your dreams, like
Mm.
a dream capturing service. And then it had like a website to go to, and it was the album's website.
Oh,
It was
that's cool.
brilliant. No, it was
Yeah.
brilliant. And it like people like stole the signs and like they're all collecting the signs. And no, it was like a brilliant camp. It would be something like that. It would be
Yeah.
something to like
So you
something
would,
weird.
so your billboard would be business related, not just a general public services announcement or
Oh,
something.
I thought you meant like a Daybreak
No, it could
billboard.
be anything. It could be, spay your cats and dogs, spay and neuter, buy or adopt, don't buy. It could be anything. If you have access to a billboard on 480, what do you want the world to?
Okay, I thought it was Daybreak. So if it was Daybreak, it would be something weird and mysterious that stirred up a bunch of hype, and then all that hype ended up back to us. If it was a PSA, if it was PSA, it would probably say like, "Don't take judgment from a world that crucified a perfect man."
Oh, okay.
Something
All
like
right.
that.
Interesting. Okay. Good to know. All right. Anything else, bud?
Nah. Oh yeah, I have some fun questions.
Oh, let's.
So,
Oh
what
God,
would
I'm
be
scared.
a dream vacation with just you and Dad? I think you already did that, but if you had another one, what would it be?
Oh man, we've had some great vacations. You're right. I mean, we've had some epic experiences. Um, One thing that we are talking about, planning pretty soon, hopefully, God willing, is Hawaii. We've never been to Hawaii. So oh God, doesn't that sound fantastic?
It
So
just
that's what
looks
I'm,
like so. It almost looks like not even real. Like it looks
I
so
know,
like so such paradise
I know, doesn't it? So
with the
that's what,
mountains and like you see the
yeah,
pictures of the mountains and the beach. It's just like it doesn't even
yes,
look real. It's
yeah.
crazy. So then, what would a dream vacation be like with our whole family?
Um, just to like on the beach, just a beach
Just a
vacation, a big beach
classic
house, just a big
North
beach
Carolina
house.
beach house.
Yeah, North Carolina beach house, just, sitting on the deck, dad's barbecuing. I have a book in my hand, you
Can't beat
know.
it.
We've had a couple of those, but just with our little family, but yeah.
I've had some really good ones down in like Georgia. Those vacations are have all been amazing. What's the best meal that Dad ever cooked you?
Oh, dad's egg rolls are the best. Every New Year, we just inhale the dad's egg rolls, Aunt Cheryl's recipe.
Yeah, the best meal Dad's ever cooked you is the next one.
Is what is the next one?
It's just, yeah, it's just whatever he cooks is just really good.
Yeah, dad has really come into his own cooking.
What is the proudest moment you've ever had for Dad?
Proudest moment of your dad. He's done so many great things. He really has. He's been such a good provider for us, good caretaker. I think the thing that I'm really proud of him that I have thought about in the past is, we talked about this, we came from middle class, the trades. Um, he had some classes, college classes under his belt, but walked away from it younger. And as he started advancing his career in health and safety, that's what his career is in. His managers, his leadership told him he also needed to finish his degree, and he fought it tooth and nail. But I said, listen, I said, Dad is naturally intelligent. I think he's just a naturally intelligent person. He's just very smart. Um, I said, you know, all this stuff, everything you're going to be learning, you already know it. Now it's just a matter of putting it all on paper. And he did. He just pounded through, got all of his work done, and just hammered through and got his degree in his 40s. And I thought he was going to complain and just fight this tooth and nail, but he did it without complaining. On top of everything else that he's doing, he finished his degree and he got his license for his real estate license. And he's, has done pretty good with that. So I think besides all the husband dad stuff, I think those two things I'm really proud of him.
That's awesome. Well, I think we had a really great episode.
I hope so.
Yeah, it was a really good conversation. I tried to ask you things that I didn't know about just to try to have a good...
Did you learn anything?
Yeah, of course.
Good. Always pleasure. It's always pleasant to chat with you, Kyle. I know we have sometimes done talking to you and Dad's like, who have you been talking to? I'm like, Kyle. So I always appreciate our long form conversations.
That's me.
Yep.
Yeah, if it's not with you, it's with Anna. If it's not with Anna, it's with Alex. If it's not with Alex, it's with somebody else. I like my long talks. And that's always probably a good reason why I'm doing this podcast, because I like doing it. So
good. And you do a good job and you're good at them.
Yeah,
all right,
it's only
Kyle. Mm-hmm.
I'll see you later, Mom. Thanks a lot for joining. Anybody listening, don't forget to like and subscribe, share this video with your friends, and stay tuned for all things Daybreak. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, take care.
All right, thanks. See ya.
Love you.
Hang on, Mom. Don't close the browser right away. Just leave it open.
Do I leave?
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna end it. And then just leave your computer open for 30 minutes or an hour, or just don't close the tab.
All right. Well, call me when you hang up.
All right.